reimbursement money, hopefully quickly. So again, first page is the lowest level of the central office. On the page behind it is the upper level, and that's where you have superintendent's offices, some larger conference rooms, some other offices within there that'll handle all the programs that are in the central office, including finance, which will be in here as well. And then on the next page, we get into the early childhood area. This is a meeting with Aliki and her staff on and all of their requirements. They have a lot more requirements with their NIAC accreditation as to what they need for specific equipment. And again, this is for the little ones, so it's really tiny pieces of furniture all throughout here. And a lot of softer seating too. You know, the high school kids, they get stuff like this to keep them awake. The little ones, they get nice soft seating and much more fun playthings. You're seeing, you know, stairs and slides and water tables and things of that nature, and even down to the flags that you have in the classrooms too at the front of the room. When you're looking at the plan, those items you don't see tagged, like you see the tables and the chairs all have tags on them. The other items which you may see, which represent counters and sinks and things like that, all the built-in equipment, the non-movable equipment, is part of the main construction package, not part of furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So yeah, as you go through here, it's cork boards and storage and play kitchens and things like that in the early childhood areas, and all the different types of room, your typical classrooms. And then on the next page, you have a special ed resource room, sensory rooms, OT, PT rooms, so all the specialty areas and everything that was reflected in the educational specifications is being accounted for. And then after early childhood, then we get to where it says Windham administration areas. So these are typical conference rooms you'll see in the high school and in early childhood, and typical offices, conference rooms, assistant principal's office. So it's showing you, you know, credenzas, built-in workstations, different types of chairs, whether it be for a task chair or a guest chair or your day-to-day office chair. Following that, into the high school nurse. So again, specialty equipment you'll see there, such as cots, rolling stools, and even wheelchairs and scales and things of that nature. It's amazing what you can find that's through the state bid list. Following the nurse, we get into a typical high school classroom. So there's some of the different setups of tables and chairs. You have trapezoidal tables, which can be moved around in different configurations for classrooms, movable chairs, teachers' desks, carts. And then from there we get into the faculty workrooms. So we have a space for faculty to break out and the kitchenette or a work area. So there's movable tables and chairs, some soft seating in there as well. Specialty areas in the high school. You have the Eco Lab, which has got, I mean, you talk about equipment. They've got, you know, lathes and turning machines and grinders and heavy duty stuff in here, and specialty equipment. And then into art studios and digital production with the many different types of things you have going on through all of your pathways. It calls for a lot of specialty equipment in different areas, and that's all captured throughout here. Then we get into band. In the back of the auditorium, we have a band classroom and a piano lab. So we've got the tables and computers needed there, and the piano lab to support the equipment, and then in band stackable chairs, we've got our music stands and everything else. And then we get to the music department. So we are using, you'll see a whole partial plan of the auditorium. We are using the stage as a classroom as well, just so that it's got use. It's not only used, you know, certain times a year. We're using it daily. They're trying to maximize all the space you have in the high school, So that will be used for teaching chorus and other things. So you've got some risers, again, music stands and chairs. And there's also, on the stage, we do have a, because it's a teaching area, we also have a smart board at the head of the room and teacher desk and chair. Then into the cafeteria, the tables and chairs have already been purchased and are in there, so those are labeled as existing in the center of the page. But we do also have a teaching area in there as well. There's a smart board in the cafeteria, so that can be a breakout space. And then we have within the cafeteria a culinary lab and restaurant. So the former Peachtree, which will be no more, a lot of that equipment's going to move down to the concession stand, and Mrs. Collins is all over me about that. So I have to meet with her out there if she's watching. I haven't forgotten. But we're going to get all new equipment in the culinary kitchen, but then they have a little restaurant area as well with some nicer banquet seating. I think this will also be serving as a staff lunchroom when it's not being used by culinary kitchen. So during regular lunch waves, there would not, through scheduling, there will not be most likely a class in the culinary kitchen. So then that restaurant area can double as a staff dining room. So again, trying to find efficiencies wherever we can and not have spaces just used for 1 or 2 periods a day. We're trying to make everything used all the time. Then we get into the smaller specialty areas, school score, the school bank, the office in the bank, and then outside the, at the bottom of the page where it says Windham Student Commons, in the large hallway outside the auditorium, we've tried to recapture some of that space, which is not used that much. So, and some of those nooks, we're putting in some softer seating for students. We're having areas for the art classes to display their work. That so students will see it day to day when they come in, have breakfast, and move towards the stairs to go up. Upstairs, the work will be on display, or as we're having programs in the auditorium at night, we'll have all the artwork on display and a place for people to break out or wait to get a hot ticket. Then we move into the special ed support areas. Behavioral classroom is similar to some of the smaller spaces we've seen in the high school with the trapezoidal tables, which can be moved and put into different configurations. And then the medically fragile and autism classrooms, we have more specialty equipment like the swings, which are hung from the ceiling in there. And so in the middle of that room, you'll see there's a large circle. That's kind of the turning radius for the swing. So nothing else is within that footprint in the OTPT areas. Moving into the guidance suite. So we have a guidance area, a main area with a reception and some soft seating, some waiting places, some other places for some college prep areas as well. And then individual counselors' offices, conference room, family liaison, secure file room, secure storage room. You're seeing all those pieces and parts displayed here with what has been selected. Down into the athletic department, so we're showing the gymnasium and the weight room upstairs. Main gym is going to be renovated in kind, all new bleachers, new dividing curtain, and then it's the support equipment, getting more padded seats, having a scorer's table with a logo on the front of it. And the weight room is going to be upstairs in the location where the girls' locker room is now. Girls' locker room is going to be coming downstairs so we can keep things on the even keel, the Title IX, everyone having the same kind of experience. So the weight room and wrestling room are going to be upstairs. The weight room, you're seeing all the treadmills and bicycles and free weights and storage areas for the weight equipment in there. So it shows the layout and all the pieces and parts for that. Then, oops, going the wrong way. After that, we have the phys ed offices. Men's and women's are back to back there. So they have teacher desks, chairs, file cabinets, trainer's room. We get into the and to the tables and the laundry bins, and even in the concessions room, having a point of sale counter, movable counter that can be rolled out into the hallway, and then some storage racks for storing the goods inside of there. And then we go into science rooms. So up in science, we have epoxy table counters, science-type counters, movable chairs. These are adjustable height tables and chairs as well, so sometimes you want to be standing, doing experiments, doing labs, sometimes you want to be sitting. And this is, these are really, what we're showing here are clabs. So we have a classroom area in the center of the room, and then around the perimeter, we have the science lab areas, the built-in counters and stools. Well, the stools aren't built in, but the counters are built in, and then the adjustable stools that go with those. Then downstairs to the media center. So what you're seeing in the plan is a portion of what your the current configuration of the media center. So we do have the checkout desk right when you come in the front door. And then below that, we've got some breakout tables and chairs. We have a small group meeting room at the bottom of the page. So there's not a door on that space, but it is a walled-off area where people can have small group meetings. And then we have some soft seating in there, a couple of funky chairs and tables. We have some study carrels, and then lower height bookcases, so you could still maintain visual control over the entire area. And I believe that the seating that you're seeing there, all ganged together, the tables and chairs, those are all movable because this is where you would have your Board of Ed meetings in the future, and we have hookups so that you can continue to broadcast in that space. And then what you're not seeing here, just to the top of that media center plan, I believe you're seeing on the next page, and that is the Makerspace Room. This is something we're still a little bit in flux on as far as the final equipment that's going in there and the technology. We've pretty much got it down with the furniture, with our tables, chairs, storage that you're all seeing in here, both movable and fixed. I believe we are still finalizing the actual equipment that's going to be going in that room, but we do have made all the provisions for power and data that will need to be used to support it. So with that, I've also handed out a budget sheet, which again has been reviewed by the building committee and by your owner's rep, Colliers. So this breaks down the different types of furniture that we have that is represented on these pages, and then it shows you what is eligible for state reimbursement and what is not eligible and the total cost. So we're looking at right now at a budget of $2.2 million for all of this equipment that you see here. And the breakdowns show you, pretty much page by page of what that represents for, fitness versus art versus early childhood, et cetera. So with that, if there's any questions or anything I should need to cover a little bit more in depth, I'd be happy to answer.
Bob, what was the budget for this phase?
The budget for this phase was $1.8 million, and as you can see, we are over that currently. We are looking to make some better buyouts and see where we can save. But and that 1.8 represents, it just happens to represent what the eligible costs that we've shown on here versus the ineligible is about, just under $400,000. Between the furniture package and the technology package, we are slightly over what Colliers has targeted for the budgets in each, and we're continuing to work with them as we're finalizing this to get down within.
Mark? Yeah, just a couple of questions. First off, is this just advisory to us? I've lived through the middle school and the magnet school, and I've never been presented with FFE. That's always been the purvey of the building committee. So is this just an advises to us, or are we asked to approve this, or?
At the end of the day, Dr. Youngberg is gonna have to sign off on all the costs. So the building committee thought it best that it come before you, keep you apprised of the project, and if you had any issues with where we're at, certainly they would wanna hear from the Board of Ed. As far as taking a vote tonight, I'm not sure.
We
Can
can
take a
take a vote at our first meeting in January on this if we would like.
Not that I would like, I'm just asking again.
No, I was
having lived through this.
I was told that's what we should do, is
Oh,
take
really?
a vote
Okay.
on our first meeting in January.
And is that a change? Because as I say, I lived through this building and the magnet school. We were never asked FFE approval. It was just,
Well, the
because
state
it's no longer
does,
in my purvey. Once we
state-
make the building committee, all the decisions become theirs. That's why I'm curious.
the state requires 2 sign-offs on their 042 document, which is the building committee and the Board of Ed.
Okay.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that it's over budget right now that they're asking? I'm being totally
No,
serious.
but it does provide some coverage.
Yeah.
But no, that is not the reason we're coming before you. It's more of approvals through the state that they are looking for sign-off from both the building committee and the Board of Education.
All right, two other questions. Are we retaining any equipment from the current high school?
Yes, mostly in early childhood, because the type of equipment they use a company called Community Playthings, and they make basically one type of equipment. It's all, wood, birch, type equipment that you see in here. Their styles don't change that often, so not only will the new blend in better with the existing, but the stuff is pretty durable and it's not in bad shape. As far as the high school, there's very little that we're saving there. This is a renovate like new school, so we're trying to do all new. Anywhere we could, where it was feasible to save things, we have. But it's very little. Most of the stuff is tired. It's past its useful life.
And is this all COVID flexible? Having lived through the COVID, and it looks like we're continuing to live with it, is all this new furniture flexible enough that I can do separation and still run classes? And I see a lot of it is tables, but I just want to make sure it's up to.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by COVID flexible.
Well,
Mark.
no, I mean in terms of physical separation. Right
Oh,
now,
yeah,
we
yeah.
needed to separate desks and chairs.
Yep.
You have tables here, I guess in the cafeteria, there was one long table, now I see we have round tables, so it looks to me like that's been set up to at least accommodate a COVID restriction. I'm just wondering if all the equipment, if we thought about COVID restrictions when we looked at this equipment, that's what I'm asking.
Everything that you're seeing is flexible. So it's, where you see tables grouped together, they can be moved apart. Often you're seeing the casters, the wheels on the bottom in there. So you are able, we've shown ideal configurations or what we think would be a normal day-to-day configuration. But if you are trying to separate these out in so much as you can within the parameters of the room, they can be separated out. You can get a little bit more distance between.
Do you have any other questions, Mark?
No, thank you.
Go ahead. Press your mic.
When does this need to be signed off on?
We're hoping for the next meeting, your next regular meeting.
If we have a special meeting before the end of the year, which it looks like we're going to have, which could be a very short meeting, we could take action on this too.
We're trying to go back to the state next month for approvals on this next phase, and we would need the sign-offs at all levels.
I have a quick question, and I apologize. This probably was answered in the in the building committee. The equipment that we're not using anymore in the high school, a lot of it is old and whatever, but do we get any money for repurposing that furniture and things somehow? Because there are businesses who take used office furniture and repurpose it, and sometimes you can get money for that.
So
I was just wondering, because
I don't know
a
specifically.
lot of people are in that business.
Yeah, the high school, we haven't moved furniture that would be worthy of earning
Okay.
money back. But we did that at Kramer. We opened up a website and added our merchandise to, I can't think of the name of it now, but we did
I'm just wondering
sell-
whether we could get some revenue.
We
that's all.
sold some of the items.
Yeah, it
In-
just seems we
in an
should
auction
try
type
to,
thing,
for
yes.
some things that might be worth it. Or donate to nonprofits that need it. Just, I don't want to,
From the lawn.
Then,
yes, Mark?
I came up with another question while you were waiting.
Okay.
In terms of the budget, the town has voted to spend, I don't know, X million dollars for this. Now, if we start going over the budget, as we have here, how are we getting authorization to spend that additional money? My
No,
understanding was we can only,
No, you still have to work within that parameters, and that's where Colliers, your owner's rep, comes into play. They're the ones who had set these target budgets with all of your soft costs, anything outside of construction. So they're gonna try and keep us within those costs to the best that they can, and if they agree that, okay, we're gonna go a little bit over here, a little bit over there, they're gonna have to balance that out with the other pots of money that they have for things like, you know, maybe some alternate bid items that haven't been accepted yet, or, you know, do we take things out of contingency now or not? So they're gonna give direction to the building committee on agreeing or not agreeing with the budget.
so if I agree to this budget, it just means that $1 million just has to come out of somewhere else, because the total has to stay, okay.
Any other questions before we wrap up this presentation? Go ahead. Did you press your button? So it's green? There.
Every time that we move, the playground stay in the place where we were. But right now, this is a new playground. Are we gonna move the playground to the new building?
The early childhood playground is here, will not move over. You're gonna get an entirely new playground. It's actually, the playgrounds will, and I'll come back and talk to you at that phase, but basically for the kindergarten would have a fenced-in area with a rubberized surface in one area, and then they'll have another fenced-in area with an asphalt surface for tricycles and bikes and things of that nature. And then the younger ones would have their own, they have 2 fenced-in areas separated with rubberized surfaces and all sorts of play equipments. There's gonna be shade coverage of those areas as well. There's also an area with a greenhouse and raised plant beds. So you don't want this stuff. You're gonna get nicer, newer stuff up at the high school.
Okay, we're not going to get into, we have a lot on the agenda tonight, okay?
Okay.
So are there any more questions? Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Bob.
So we're back on the agenda for approval of the minutes from the November 10th, 2021 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Katina and Mark, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of those approving those minutes, please raise your hand. Any abstentions? 1. Thank you. Now we're on to the superintendent's voluminous report.
I'm gonna try to do the Reader's Digest version. It's getting late, and I think it's snowing out already. All right, in your packet, you had
It is.
information. It is actually snowing.
Definitely
out, yeah.
snowing out there.
In your packet, you have information, the latest updates on Executive Order 13G, on screen and stay, and on the vaccine clinics. So if there's any questions about what was in your packet, I'm happy to entertain them. I guess the biggest update on COVID that I'd like to share with the board is that we're having a significant number of positive cases. This week alone, we've had 27 cases, and 18 of those cases were reportable. And what we mean by reportable, contact tracing, our nurses. So right now, we have 208 in the districts back in March of 2020. So I'm a little concerned. I actually called the Department of Public Health today to just ask the question if there's anything we should be doing differently, given the high number of quarantines and isolations in terms of our students. And it's really just stay the course and continue with your mitigation strategies and doing all the things we're already doing. But that number is a little alarming. We have 3,100 I think, 99 students currently, so we're closing in on 10% mark in quarantine or isolation. So just want the board to be aware of that. I'll keep you posted if anything changes, but a little concerned about that many students not able to come to school because of COVID, because of being close contacts or being positive.
Are there any questions on that? Katina?
Yes, is there any possibility to reach out to the Department of Education and maybe get permission to have some flexibility with virtual learning for those kids who are out, or some combination of things to prevent more
So
infections?
we have asked the commissioner about options, and we have not received any information about there being any options in terms of learning models. I'm not afraid to ask. I certainly could ask the question, but I know it's been asked in other meetings that I've attended, and there hasn't been any answers as to how we should go about doing that. But I can ask again. I guess it's worth asking the question.
Okay.
Question, okay. So now when a child goes into quarantine, what is it for, how long are they in quarantine?
So it really
10
depends on
days?
whether they're going to get tested. Susanna, it varies. It's all different. Yeah.
Are they given work to bring home, schoolwork?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I'm happy to share with you, if you're vaccinated, then there's no need to quarantine at this time. If you're an unvaccinated individual, the shortest time right now is 8 days, so it's 5 days after an exposure, and then you test on day 5, and then you can come out back into the school community on day 8. Otherwise, it's 10 days if you choose not to get tested. And if you're symptomatic, you can come back sooner if you have a negative COVID test. So there's all sorts
See
of
what I mean?
variables.
It's not a straight answer.
It's really been, this year in particular, has been more complicated, but I would encourage you, if you want to see, we have all of this right now in our health and safety manual, which is found on our website too.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Mark?
Just a quick question. How is this mirroring the state? Are we a hotspot by ourselves, or is this?
Actually,
a
most of
similar
the
state?
state looks just like us, large uptick in cases.
So
Most of the states in the red zone.
so we hopefully can anticipate a state response at some point. Okay,
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, celebrations, you'll notice in your packet, we celebrated the middle school students who had superior attendance in Q1. They had a parade throughout their building. We also celebrated Windham High School students. They were actually featured in What's Right in Schools, and it came out last night. I sent the link. They did a great job. Always nice to have some positive energy around the schools. Big Brothers and Big Sisters was also in your packet. I don't know if there's any questions, as well as a donation from the Summers Women's Club. So we say thank you to them. I don't know if you want me to just keep moving.
I think you should keep moving.
Okay, keep moving. Okay, so Three Kings Day is scheduled for Saturday, January 8th. There will be 2 sessions, 11 to 12 and 12 to 1. It is a drive-through event, so if you have specific questions, I know Mr. Camacho can answer them for you, but we look forward to this event, to this annual gathering, and I guess having it as a drive-through is probably a good thing, given where we are COVID-wise right now.
You mean Mr. Camacho, AKA one of the 3 kings?
So I don't know, they haven't decided.
We
who
don't
the
know
three
yet?
kings are, but maybe you can give us a, we're still waiting on
I'm
that.
sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, actually, that's a good question. So I was thinking maybe have Mr. Weathers, because he was one of the kings last year, Dr. Ware,
Yes.
and I forgot about Carlos.
That's right, there's a.
Yay,
Ooh,
Carlos.
So we got to initiate him
Yes,
as one of the
I
new
like it.
kings.
yes.
Perfect. He said
nominate
yes.
Carlos. All right, there we go. Okay, moving. Moving right along in the packet, you had your staffing report from Human Resources. I don't know if there's any specific questions about that report.
Anybody have anybody? Just speak,
Okay.
raise your hand if you have questions.
If there's no questions on the staffing report, I provided for you, once again, with a little more detail, what was put in the original application for the ARP ESSER funds. That's ESSER 3, as it's sometimes called. I don't know if there's any specific questions about that information. Okay. Last night, and many of you were there, we presented to the Elementary Consolidation Committee, as well as many board members, some community members, and my staff, all about my recommendations for moving forward with our school redesign, elementary consolidation / school redesign. We have much more to do around this topic, but the goal from here is to digest the information I shared, to dig deep into the updated facilities master plan, and for the committee to meet again in January and make some recommendations that would help guide what the board will eventually be voting on in terms of where we're moving forward. So much more to come on that.
Paula, as the chair of that ad hoc committee, and I will be meeting to sort of map out a process that, based on the input that we got last night, about how we get public input, how we talk to people about the options that are at hand, and a decision, a series of meetings that the Board of Ed would have over many months to get to a final decision on this. So more to come in January.
Okay, next on the list is the CIAC Winter Sports Guidelines. So you were all provided with the link to the latest information from the CIAC. I know I have spoken to our new athletic director, Ciac, and he has given me information that they would like to follow the spectator, 50% capacity on the spectators and it's actually not unlike many of the local districts are using the same parameters. And we will be attempting to follow the CIAC masking guidelines, which allow athletes not to wear masks under certain circumstances. That is something I imagine the board's going to want to vote on, and we're not doing it tonight, so that could be addressed in a special meeting if we were going to have one of those next week. And I would invite the new athletic director to be a part of that meeting so that he could answer any questions for us. Any questions? Any other questions until then? Oh, sure, he'll be happy to hear that. Thank you. Okay, next on the list is information about the Spanish teachers and our recruitment plan. If there's any specific questions, I know Beth is here with us tonight. I don't know if there's any specific, there is. Okay, Mary?
Yeah, the first question is, are all the teachers currently here guaranteed to stay 3 years? And I am a door. And then having a total of like 15 teachers, that's like 5% of our teaching staff. So I find this concerning that it's not sustainable.
So I'm going to let Beth answer specifics, but I will tell you, given the struggles we're having with staffing in general, and it's not just our struggles, it's all over the state of Connecticut, if we can figure out a way to get any of our teaching positions filled, I'm going to be on board for it, but I'll let Beth answer the specifics.
Okay, I think the first question was about how long teachers are guaranteeing that they're staying here. We don't really have a guarantee, and they're individuals who make choices, but their J1 visa is good for 3 years. At this time, I don't have any bad news to report, and they're buying heavy furniture, so I see that as a sign of maybe staying on longer, right? They're, generally speaking, a pretty satisfied group in terms of the struggles. They are seeing, they do have the same struggles as most teachers in a new teaching situation. But I don't have any sort of I'm not anticipating anyone leaving at this point. I've only gotten good news from them at this point. So I would say some are planning to stay the full 3 years, and some we're going to see about because they can't determine everything right this moment. We wanted to stagger we know it's not a long-term solution, but it has been pretty positive in terms of bringing in a diverse kind of perspective in our bilingual programs. We know we'd have to stagger this staffing solution, right? So if they were to leave within 3 years, then we would have a large gap because we have 10 teachers here right now. So if we take a few more teachers and then sort of stagger their exit plan as well, if we took 5 more teachers, then those teachers would have 3 more years, right? So there's some thinking around numbers there. Bilingual certification is the largest shortage area in the state. It is larger than other areas, not by a little bit, in normal times. And now we have a huge staffing crisis. So we are seeing the impact in our programs, and not only bilingual education, but all of my areas are on the state-determined shortage area list. So it's bilingual certification, TESOL certification, and world languages certification all make the list. Similar to Suzanne's areas, all make the list. So in our highest needs areas, we have the largest shortages in bilingual education and special ed. So we are really trying to be very creative about solutions right now. And bringing in teachers from Spain is a great solution because the Spanish consulate works with us. They do a lot of the legwork on the screening and making sure that all of the teachers have all of the qualifications to be teachers here. In the case of bringing in teachers from other places, in other countries, those embassies don't do all of the legwork. We would have to do it ourselves, including the recruitment of individuals from other countries. There's no sort of middleman on that, and the Spanish consulate really helps us out. So it's a short-term kind of solution, yes. It doesn't mean we wouldn't want to keep doing this in the future, but maybe not so many teachers at once. The other reason that we're really looking to do it right now is because the response from the 10 teachers that have been here is that they're looking to be a great support system to any other teachers that we bring right now. They're looking forward to being sort of, I wouldn't say ambassadors, but sort of liaisons, right, for new teachers that we might bring in. They're actually hopeful about that. And I think that that's like a small moment of good morale for us to sort of build on right now. So that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at bringing as many teachers in the next round, right, sort of staggering the numbers a little bit.
And that is just one of the many things we're doing to try to fill our shortage areas.
Right, so I'm not on the agenda to present all the other solutions that we've been attempting.
I'm just saying, we're not giving up on anything else.
Absolutely.
Any of the other options while we're
Yeah,
doing
I'm
it.
actually working on a number of other solutions for staffing shortages, just like anybody else here. So this isn't the only one. It just happens to be the only one you've been hearing a lot about, which is kind of unfortunate. Maybe, we could do another sit-down conversation about it, but there are many other solutions that we're plugging away at. So, sure.
Oh, go ahead, Katina.
Yes, I have become friends with some of the teachers from Spain, and I think it's a great program. Like Mary says, it's not sustainable long-term, and I would like to, if we form a personnel committee or just start thinking about how to recruit people from Puerto Rico and keep them here and do the same type of welcoming that we have done to the teachers from Spain. And of course, we would need an embassy to do that, and how to advocate at the governmental level to expedite the bilingual certification and others. If I can help, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay, next in the lengthy list of items would be the first reading of the policies, and I know these are policies related to procurement, so if there's any questions, Rita's here to answer. I don't know if there are any questions.
This is the first reading, but we won't take action on it tonight. But Mark,
Yeah.
you have a question.
I just wondered if the doctor could read the policies for us.
Absolutely, I'll get right on that.
No, I was going to say that the policy committee met, and unfortunately, Ilda couldn't be there, but we review those, and we are passing them on for first reading. And Rita, did you have something to add?
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me? So I just realized that the first policy, second page was revised, so I'm not sure if we should forward it to another reading.
Does that mean they don't have the most up-to-date information? Okay.
Sorry.
So we're going to have to get the
On the first
up-to-date
one.
information.
It doesn't need to go to another first reading.
No.
It can be amended in the second reading.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay,
Janet.
so at our next meeting, if we get it in our packet before then we'll have a chance to look at it before then and before we take action. Thank you.
Okay, then underneath the presentations, I'm just going to sort of continue to move on because most of this information is already in your packet. Is there something else on yours?
No.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. So you have information in your packet related to the community-based location for our assisted work program and the core program, which is our alternative high school. Essentially, the state has told us that we need to relocate those programs. They're currently housed here temporarily at Windham Middle School, and that is not going to be okay with the state moving forward. So Suzanne is here if there's any questions. We will be looking for the board to vote on basically giving us permission to go and do the shopping around to find a location. This is not unusual. It's happened before. We won't be voting tonight on this, but if there's any questions about the information that was shared in the packet, we can answer them tonight, or we can present additional information to you in January. So I don't know if there's any questions, because Suzanne's here and can answer.
No, I thought the written information was pretty clear. Thank you. We need to have a vote in January?
We actually,
the
this is
timing
another
of
one of
that?
those things that we could potentially, if we're going to do a special meeting, we could vote then. The sooner the better on this, but she does have to give the state an answer about whether or not we're taking action on finding
Okay.
a new location.
So currently, we have identified one location that has about 6,000, over 6,000 square feet that would be able to house us. It is right now, we've identified only one location that is ideally, that could support our expansion and/or program at this time. We're keeping looking. If anyone has any ideas, talk to me after the meeting.
Just a procedural question. Could
Yes.
that be voted on tonight?
No,
No?
no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving right along, we're up to number 3 under the presentations, or the section 8. This is the information that I just wanted to just sort of briefly go over with you, and that is my recommendation to the board chair about removing the executive committee from our cycle and instead putting in a personnel committee. And if you think about the committees as sort of the crosswalk between the staff and the Board of Education, you need to have, each of your committees needs to represent a major portion of the organization. And we were actually missing a direct link to the personnel, which is our Human Resources Department. So obviously, all of the work that the district does to recruit and develop and retain employees, the board should be involved in all of those processes. So that's the reason why I was actually given the recommendation by my executive coach, who happens to be a former superintendent of this district. And it makes perfect sense when you think about the committees as sort of foundations to build on. So that was the reason I made the recommendation, and we'll be connecting Stephanie and her department to a committee moving forward, if that's what you vote on tonight. Any questions about that?
Yes, I have a question, Lynn, and then what would happen with situations, if it's a general policy, personnel committee where we're participating, will those be public? Or would there be a section of it that would substitute the executive? I'm confused about
Well, it's
privacy.
not dealing with grievances.
No,
The
no,
board
no.
would deal with grievances.
Yeah, it's not specific employees, but general work around our employees.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yes, but I heard, if I misunderstood, please explain, that it would kind of substitute the executive committee?
Well, we don't need to have an executive committee, really.
Are you concerned that there's topics that won't be addressed?
Or when private topics need to be addressed, how would that happen then? If we don't have an executive?
Well, the
committee?
executive committee hasn't been meeting in private generally. When it
Right,
meets,
you're
it's a
correct.
public meeting.
Public meeting.
It's a public meeting.
And we
yes.
have not had executive committee meetings because it seems like there's no reason to
Yes.
generally segregate conversations with the superintendent about the district from other committees or other work that we do as a
Yes.
board.
Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for explaining.
Mark?
Yeah, up until the special master, we had a personnel committee. At one point, I served as chair and other people. And if we needed to do, one of the things that the personnel committee did was work with the HR person, director, to come up with strategy for contract negotiations. And during those periods, we went into executive session for personnel matters and discuss contracts. So we had the ability at that point to go into executive session of the committee. Otherwise, they were public and were open.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, also in your packet was just a review of where we are in the superintendent evaluation process. I think we're doing fairly well. We're on track. We might have to make some adjustments to when we present the assessment data to you, but I think we have been doing a good job since we used the board retreat for the board to do their self-evaluation. That was a jump off, and the goals were presented then. We're in a good position right now, which is nice. We weren't in the same place last year, so that's progress. So I don't know if there's any specific questions about that. And I think that's,
No questions about that? Okay.
look at that record time.
Did we jumped over the committee planning section on the agenda. Board of Education Committee, oh,
I think I talked a little bit
yes,
about
you
that.
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want, is there more?
No, that's it.
Questions?
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I was just getting a little confused, sorry.
It's all good.
So the next item on the agenda is action items. And we added approval of a change to the committee structure by eliminating the executive committee and adding a personnel committee. And I would entertain a motion to do that.
Second.
Okay, moved by Ilda, seconded by Mark. Oh, I mean, Katina, sorry. With masks sometimes, I can't tell who's talking. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, raise your hand if you support this. Unanimous. Thank you. Holly, you keeping up on this? Thanks. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of budget transfers, and Rita handed out the supporting document for that before this meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to do that, and then I'll hand it over to Mark to explain.
So moved, Ilda.
A second? Do I get a second? Seconded by Brendan. So Mark, is there anything you want to share with us?
The Finance Committee reviewed these at our last meeting, but it was too soon to have the list, so I don't think there's anything new. It's the traditional, or not traditional, but our attempt to straighten things out. And this time it has to do with the ESSER money that we're getting, as well as some of the budgetary things, but it's primarily moving grant monies back and forth. Is that correct, Rita?
Actually, I think these are just, those were small transfers submitted by the departments for various reasons, you know, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of things do have to do with COVID, and if they can't spend it in one area, they're finding, you know, other areas of how to spend their budget. But these are not related to the ESSERs.
So it's a total of $37,205. Any more questions about this? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Oh, Mark, did you raise your hand? You didn't.
Same favor, yeah.
Okay,
you're both
great.
in favor.
Okay, next item is approval of submission of a United Way grant, and there was a document in our packet about explaining this. Would anybody like to make that motion? So moved by Paul.
Second.
Paula, seconded by Ilda. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that's done. Then we need to take action on approval of the Board of Education meeting dates for 2022. And we cannot take action on committee meeting dates tonight. What I would like to suggest on that front is that the people who have been appointed chairs of those committees get in touch with the other committee members that volunteered, and if you have questions about that, see me, and set a meeting date and time for your regular monthly meetings for the year 2022. And then we're going to have a special board meeting, and I suggest that we just do it via Zoom to take action on this before the 15th of December. We have to submit these dates to the town hall by the 15th of December. So let's tonight, before we break, decide when we would like to have that special meeting. But we could entertain a motion to accept the Board of Education meeting dates for 2022.
So moved, Ilda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mark. Okay, so the meeting dates are all right here, and people should put these on their calendars. Is there any discussion on them? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. And then the next item is approval of the calendar for the 2022-23 budget process.
So moved?
Yes. Motion made by Brendan.
Second,
Ilda seconded it. Any discussion? I want to remind folks that we're getting into a busy time with the budget, and when we adopt this okay, we've adopted that calendar, and we'll be talking with each other a lot more in the next couple of months. And then the final thing we need action on is approval of the school calendar for the school year, 2022-2023, and that's been presented to us previous to tonight. People have had a chance to look at it. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Alicia. Oh, by Paula?
Oh.
Okay, sorry.
I couldn't tell if she did or not.
If only we had name tags.
Any further conversation?
So funny.
All those in favor? Okay. So let's get back to, just before we end our meeting, I want to make sure that we think about the date that we can have a special Zoom meeting. To approve this, we could also, if we wanted to take action on, if there's anything related to the CIAC guidelines.
Yes, that actually could be on there.
We could have the athletic director come and talk to us if we wanted. And we could vote on the community-based location for the assisted work and core programs. And we could vote on the Windham High School renovation furniture if we wanted to. So what works for folks?
Monday.
I have a conflict on Monday since I am in the Civilian Review Board Study Group, and I'm the co-chair of that town committee.
What time does that meet?
The 13th.
No, what
So-
time does it meet?
6:30 to 7:30. So I can do it before or after.
5 o'clock Zoom meeting, or Tuesday. It's a Zoom meeting.
Brendan?
I say just based on work obligations, I have a strong preference for Tuesday, but if it is
Okay.
Monday, I'll try to make it.
Tuesday. Let's look at Tuesday.
Tuesday's good.
Could we do earlier in the evening?
5 or 4?
So you don't have to leave your house?
I know, but I'm
Okay.
taking care of my grandkid early, yeah. He doesn't leave until 5:30.
Okay,
And Paula works also until.
okay. Well, if we do it on Tuesday, I can't, you guys could meet without me, but on Tuesday, I have to work until 7:30, so
So let's do it on Monday, but earlier, like
I can't do earlier. I can't do earlier on Monday, I have to work.
7:30 for half an hour?
I have a meeting, work meeting until 7:30, so,
On Monday?
on Monday and on Tuesday.
So,
So Tuesday at 7, can you do 7?
No,
she's
I
got
have,
a
a-
meeting
I-
at
no, I work until 7:30, Monday and Tuesday.
7:30.
So
Mhm.
it has to be before Wednesday, doesn't it?
So lunch?
Jen, do you know if the information has to be forwarded to the town at a certain time on the 15th, or
What about this Friday?
close the business, or?
No.
Oh, okay, so that we could do it on Wednesday, potentially.
On what time Wednesday are you thinking? I'm not thinking anything. I mean, I'm asking you guys how we can make this work. And not everybody needs to be there. We just need to have a quorum, right?
Mhm.
So if somebody has a conflict, that's why I'm saying you could do it without me on Tuesday night.
What about this Friday?
No, I have a meeting, sorry. Okay.
Could you do any time Monday or Tuesday?
The only time I could do on Monday would be like between 6 and 6:30.
Great.
Before my 6:30 meeting.
Yeah, 6.
Let's do it.
It's fine with me.
In the evening.
Monday?
How about you?
Monday at 6?
Monday at 6.
I'm sorry I have to work a lot at night, guys.
December
I'm-
13th at 6 o'clock, virtual meeting.
6 PM. And this will be quick.
Yes.
Okay, so December 13
So
at
we're
6
looking-
PM?
Yes. So we're looking at the CIAC, the Windham High
Yes, well,
Renovated
so do
new
I.
furniture, and what else was there?
We'll send you an agenda.
Okay.
So during public comment, I would like to take a little latitude and acknowledge that this is Janet Testa's last meeting with us at the Board of Ed. And I cannot tell, I mean, Holly, this is no reflection on you, but it's hard to imagine how we will keep all the little pieces together without Janet, who is like a magic person who figures out how to make things work, and holds us to account and keeps us going. And so very quickly, I want to let people go around the room and say something in gratitude for Janet, even if it's only a word that you think of when you think of Janet, and then we'll give Dr. Youngberg a chance to speak. Anybody want to say anything? Katina?
Let's go around.
I am forever grateful to Janet, and I'm going to cry as usual. Because in my tenure as an employee, you were nothing but always kind to me when I went to the middle school. And forever and ever, she has kept my niece's shawl with her since before Elizabeth died, and her picture behind her desk, and kept her memory alive. So my family says thank you, Janet, for your compassion and friendship towards our family.
My pleasure.
Mark?
Well, I've worked with many administrative assistants in my career as a Board of Ed member, but I certainly will miss Janet. She's been one of the highlights of my return to the board is my working with Janet. I'm going to certainly miss her.
Ilda? I'm just skipping back around. Go ahead, Ilda. No, go ahead. Okay. Mary?
I wasn't ready.
Sounds like an elementary classroom. I love it.
Thank you, Janet. I mean, it's been wonderful to know you, and I will miss you a lot, and hope we will meet somewhere in the world outside of the school district.
She doesn't live too far away, so you might. Paula?
I've only known you a short time, Janet, and certainly we are going to miss you. And I have to thank you for your patience with me for all my lost Board of Ed packets. my emails that I could never find, and the information you so graciously sent me again. So I thank you, and the very best to you.
Holly, that's previews of coming attractions with Paula. Alicia, I don't want to put you on the spot. This is your first board meeting, but if there's anything you want to say, you can.
I just want to say, just want to say thank you for all what you have done for the school. But I will say, now that I'm new here, I'm going to miss you because they say you're so good.
Oh, yes.
Brendan?
Janet, to say I'm going to miss you is an understatement. It has been a pleasure working with you, both as an employee and now on the board, and all the late night pulling our hair out conversations that I will never forget. It has been an absolute pleasure, and enjoy your retirement.
So, to say I'm gonna miss you, like he said, would be an understatement. Like she said, like we were talking about how long I've known you, and I wasn't gonna cry. I've known her since the middle school, since I started this journey of helping all the kids instead of just my kid, because she had everything she needed, and Janet pointed me in the right direction, always helped me with my paperwork that I needed to get in for different things when I first started on the PTO, then the SGC, and now look at me on the board. What am I gonna do on the board in the next 4 years without you? You have made me sound so smart on paper.
That was cute. That's funny.
You are a blessing, and I'm gonna miss you when I start doing fundraisers again. I'm gonna miss you, because she was always, I'll do it, I got it, I'll do it, I'll be there, I'll buy tickets. So I have to get your word. that you're
I'll buy
gonna-
the tickets.
All right, so we accept Holly. Thank you so much, and this is not goodbye, because you're gonna be seeing me more now that you retired, because you're like 20 minutes away. I'm gonna have to come visit.
Your retirement buddies.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love you, I
Thank you.
really do, I love you.
Thank you, Ilda. And now I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Youngberg.
So I just have two quick things to say. The first is, Janet, I love you to pieces, and the term, your title, executive assistant, it's not a good enough title. It doesn't address the fact that you really are a partner in helping me do the job that I'm doing. And, I stepped in sort of rough times, and you're the reason why, a pretty big reason why we've been able to sort of keep the ship moving forward. So I appreciate you. I hope that I let you know that more than just here, but really appreciate you. Love you to pieces. I want to make sure the board all knows that we're going to have a formal send-off for Janet on December 23rd. So I want to invite you all in. I don't know, the details are still kind of being formed, but some kind of open house, come whenever you can. It's the day before the holiday break, which is usually a more lax day anyway, and we're going to send her off and make sure she knows that we want her to enjoy every minute of retirement. Holly, I don't know,
Thank you.
they
I
might
don't-
have scared you a little bit tonight. We'll talk later.
Yeah, don't let Ilda extort you. So Janet, is there anything you want to say before we move into the last piece of the agenda?
It has certainly been my pleasure to work with the board. You have all pitched in. I admire all of you for your hard work and your dedication to the students in this district. It isn't easy, but know that your work is recognized and appreciated, and I have been honored to been able to serve underneath you.
So the final thing on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody who wants to say anything else besides what we just did in public comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:45.
I move, we move.